Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Sootopolis City Draft League. I am Angelo Hunter, joined by Kamikasa, and we are back for our second Spike Muth match of this stream. We have some exciting players and some exciting teams. Kamikasa, how are you doing?
I am doing fine. I can't wait for the match.
Yeah, it should be super exciting. We have an exciting match between the Lunala Dream Eaters and the Tokyo Thunder. The Lunala Dream Eaters are currently up 4-2 on the Tokyo Thunder. They are currently sitting at 3-1 on the league, so that's 3 wins and 1 tie. And then the Tokyo Thunders are 3-0-1, so they have 3 wins and 1 loss. The Lunala Dream Eaters, like I mentioned, are sitting in first place, and yeah, some pretty interesting stuff. Lunala Dream Eaters gonna go ahead and try and wrap up the week here with just 1 win, and we are featuring this game between Warhyang and Daniele. So yeah, it should be super exciting. Let's go ahead and take a look at the teams.
Yeah, and I have to say those teams are really at the top of the table. Like 3 wins out of 4 weeks is really something that you can be proud of as a team. And Warhyang definitely helped his team accomplish that because his current record is 3-0. He's a very accomplished player, as you can see, 2018 Korean national champion, and multiple Spike Muth ladder tops, especially like he got first place, and I think he even published his team. He's a 2 times world competitor, and he is also playing in the VCL happening right now. Yeah, that's where he got the team from. I played as well this week, and I think the team is really strong because it features a really strong Trick Room core with Araquanid. Araquanid is a really interesting Pokemon because it is a water type, but it doesn't lose to Rillaboom, which is a really oppressive grass type. And it doesn't even need the Trick Room necessarily because it has a really fast mode as well with Tapu Koko and Landorus. So yeah, it's a really round team, a really balanced team, and yeah, I'm interested to see how Warhyang highlights it.
Yeah, really interesting stuff. They're really looking forward to seeing that Araquanid and the Tapu Koko on there. And moving over to Daniele, though, Daniele is a really prominent online player. They are currently 1-1 in this league, and a player we have featured on stream before. They have gotten they got top 4 in a VGC paced random tour, which is very exciting. It's a tournament where they get a random team every game, so showing that they are a very skillful player. They were also the top 4 in the Zelda Challenge in 2021. That was a Series 9 tournament, and then they were top 4 in a Rose Tower Clash in 2021 as well. And they have a bit of a more standard team. They have the Fire, Water, Grass, Corn, Urshifu, Instant, Rillaboom, as well as the Amoonguss for redirection and sleep. And then they have the Nihilego and the Spectre. So it'd be interesting to see if the Spectre is a setup type with something like Nasty Plot, or if it's more committed to damage mitigation like Snarl or Will-O-Wisp. But yeah, regardless, we have 2 very interesting teams here. I'm very excited to see how they match up. Let's go ahead and get into it. Yeah, should be a really exciting one. Let's go ahead and see what they decide to lead here. And we're going to have Daniele go ahead and lead with the Spectre and Incineroar. So going to go ahead and get some Intimidate and some Fake Out Pressure immediately. And Warhyang's going to lead with the Rillaboom and the Landorus. Pretty common core here, pretty common leads. Yeah.
Yeah, I immediately wonder what the Spectre is about to do, because I for myself thought a Spectre you normally would probably be scared of bringing it or even leading it against a Porygon or a Incineroar, but it works out really nice here from lead-wise, because I mean Rillaboom matches up, is intimidated, doesn't really do too much damage to the Spectre, and it has a potential Snarl option for the Landorus, but let's see what he does.
Yeah, Lander's going to go ahead and switch out into the Incineroar, not wanting to take something like a Snarl from the Spectre or get faked out from the Incineroar. Going to go ahead and drop an Intimidate on Daniele's side, and the Spectre, or the Incineroar is going to go ahead and go for a fake out into that Incineroar, so Warhyang correctly predicting that, and the Spectre is going to go ahead and go for a move, which looks like it misses or fails, so not sure what that was there, but the Rillaboom on Warhyang's side is going to go for a Swords Dance. Not something we normally see on Rillaboom's there, so Warhyang is in a very offensive position all of a sudden.
Oh yeah, that's really interesting. I mean, further in the Grassy Glide now at +1 instead of the -1 before. I think the Spectre might probably have missed a Will-O-Wisp. I don't know what you think, but yeah, it looked like it missed something, and missing a double Snarl would be really unlikely. So I'd just say he Will-O-Wisped into the Rillaboom slot, because Will-O-Wisping the Landorus slot would really make that much sense. So yeah, let's see what the how much damage the Willaboom is able to do. Like he's really comfortable with like letting his Willaboom exposed to the Incineroar, but Incineroar switches out.
Yeah. Definitely, yeah. The Incineroar's going to switch out into the Urshifu, very interesting switch there. Grassy God's going to go into the Spectre, and it's actually going to one-shot with a critical hit. So the Rillaboom was at +1, so I'm not sure if that critical hit mattered too much, but regardless, that Spectre is off the field. And this Incineroar is going to go ahead and go for a Darkest Lariat into the opposing Incineroar slot, which is a very interesting call. Going to do some good damage into the Urshifu, though, also with a critical hit, so Warhyang getting a bit of luck this turn. But yeah, this Urshifu is definitely in range of a Grassy Glide this turn. Yeah, very interesting play there. I go for the Darkest Lariat. I'm wondering if they maybe doubled up the Spectre to, in case the Grassy Glide didn't pick up the KO there.
Yeah, maybe they were scared about a Focus Sash, which is often an item that you could expect on a Spectre. But yeah, now the Incineroar comes back in, and Rillaboom is at neutral again because of the Sword Stance. Of course, threatened by a Fake Out, but I mean... it's still, if the Incineroar decides to Fake Out, it isn't going to click Flare Blitz in that turn, so Rillaboom would be fine. He could even think about switching out the Rillaboom, preserving it, because you always want a Rillaboom against an Urshifu in the late game. And once you get rid of the Incineroar, the Rillaboom looks, of course, way more strong. And yeah, we do see the switch out here.
Yeah, Warhyang going to go ahead and switch out that Rillaboom for the Tapu Koko, maybe preserving Grassy Terrain for later on, or maybe just wanting to bring it in when the Incineroar is not in a good position. The Incineroar is going to go for a Fake Out into the Tapu Koko, so yeah, nothing done on that turn. And the Urshifu is just going to go for a U-turn, so pretty good play there on Warhyang. Didn't want to take a U-turn into the Rillaboom. Actually, a very good prediction there. I thought, the Incineroar was kind of at the mercy of the Urshifu that turn, but Daniele deciding not to go for it and just decided to reposition. So we'll have to see if Warhyang can take advantage with the Incineroar by maybe going for some offense or something like a parting shot to get your Rillaboom back in. The Nihilego is going to be the final Pokemon for Daniele, and the Incineroar does go for the parting shot into the opposing Incineroar. So Warhyang is going to have a choice here of what they want to bring in, and they do have the fastest thing on the field with that Tapu Koko.
And they do decide to bring in the Landos. If it's the exact same team that I'm aware of, the Tapu Koko is actually able to click Electro Web here, which would be insanely valuable, because it would drop the speed of Nihilego, which then makes Lando faster than the Nihilego, and of course able to get a knockout on either of those two Pokemon, if it's not a Assault Vest or Shocker Berry Incineroar. We actually saw a U-turn on the Urshifu that makes me wonder if it's some kind of choice variant, because most often the only choice variants carry that U-turn. Which would be really interesting information going into the next games or even in this game, because you can freely just Grassy Glide in that slot without fearing a Protect.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to see the Urshifu hard switch, or the Incineroar hard switch into the Urshifu. The Tapu Koko is going to go for Nature's Madness, which is very interesting. Maybe covering for that Shocker Berry, like you mentioned, that could potentially be on the Incineroar. The Nihilego is just going to go for a straight Sludge Bomb into the Tapu Koko, and we did see that Assault Vest in the Pokemon selection screen. And even with that, the Nihilego is able to take it out with a Sludge Bomb. And the Urshifu is going to go ahead and get followed up with an Earth Power from the Landorus, and that is going to be able to take it out. So that was a pretty interesting turn there. I kind of expected that to play out a bit differently. I was definitely expecting that Electro Web, like you mentioned, if it's rocking that. And yeah, but the Landorus was able to get a KO that turn, but it was at the expense of the Tapu Koko.
Yeah, and that turn was really interesting, as you mentioned, because Warhyang probably hardwired a Protect on the Nihilego, and Nihilego just didn't end up going for it, and now it kind of looks tough, because he doesn't really have too much against the Nihilego, does he? If the Nihilego is able to survive a Grassy Glide, with a +1 boost, it still has its Meteor Beam, so with a +1 boost on top of the Meteor Beam boost, it will just be able to one-shot everything that's left on the field. So yeah, it's gonna be pretty tough for Warhyang all of a sudden to keep the Nihilego in check.
Yeah, definitely putting this game in the hands of the Rillaboom a bit. Unless this Landorus is able to survive something like a boosted Nihilego attack. I don't think it is, though, especially considering it might have something like that Power or Meteor Beam. We do see both the Incineroars come in here. We see that Warhyang gets the Intimidate off before Daniele's, so it is assumed to be faster. So we'll have to see how the fake out wars go here. I kind of expect just a stalemate of fake outs here. We do see actually Daniele's fake out go out first into Warhyang's Landorus, and no fake out on Warhyang. Gonna go for a meteor beam. Let's see if it decided to target down the Incineroar or the offensive threat in Landorus. This Nihilego should be at +2 now thanks to that knockout from the Sludge Bomb. Gonna go ahead and get a parting shot. Oh, it missed the meteor beam. Oh, that is something you do not want to see. That is, that is one of the risks you run when you decide to click that meteor beam button, and it is only a 10% chance of missing, but God, that 10% really hurts her.
Yeah, I mean, you don't know what he like where he went with that meteor beam, but if he did went into the Landorus slot, that would probably just be game over, because then the Nihilego would be at +3, two KOs plus the 1 meteor beam boost, and would just be able to obliterate the Incineroar and the Willaboom. So yeah, really unfortunate miss here. Game is still not over though. But yeah, let's talk about the Willaboom a little bit more now that we have a little bit of time going on here. Because I think it's really interesting that he brought a Grassy Seed Sword Stance Willaboom with Fake Out, and we see a fighting move there. Maybe something like Brick Break or Superpower, I don't know. I sadly can't read Korean that well. But yeah, I think that's a really interesting Willaboom.
Yeah, definitely. And we actually see no fake out from the Willaboom here, and it's going to be a power gem into the Landorus, and it's actually going to survive even at +2 from the Nihilego, and it's just going to fire back with an Earth Power and get the KO. So what an interesting damage roll there. I would have expected that Nihilego to knock it out easily. Maybe we're looking at something like a bulky Landorus, and that Willaboom is just going to go for a Swords Dance. So Warhyang just letting his Pokemon sit out there and dishing out some damage and getting boosted up for this end game. This Rillaboom's going to take this Flare Blitz as well. So wow. Oh, and we do see the burn. Wow, lots of RNG this match.
But that was actually a pretty interesting turn, if you think about it, because even if the Landorus goes down, assuming that the Willaboom doesn't die here, doesn't get burnt here, I mean, it has the +2 factor next turn, so your Incineroar comes in, you can fake out the opposing Incineroar to be safe from the Flare Blitz, and a +2 Grassy Clyde is definitely enough to pick up the KO on what's it called, on the Nihilego. So yeah, that was actually a really nice played endgame there. I didn't see that line. So yeah, definitely correct to not protect there or go for any protect reads or switch in your Incineroar on the stuff you don't expect to get hit there. So nice stuff, really well played.
Yeah, definitely. And that Rillaboom, like you mentioned, that really creative set with the Grassy Seed and Swords Dance put in a ton of work. It got that one shot on the Spectre, given that it was a critical hit, but I'm not sure that mattered too much. It did secure that end game, like you mentioned. I didn't see that line either, but yeah, going for the Swords Dance and just taking a KO on the Nihilego just secured him the game with the fake out from the Incineroar in the back. So very interesting. We'll have to see how Daniele decides to adapt. Definitely felt like he had the right pieces and made some of the right moves, but a bit unfortunate there with that Meteor Beam miss. It kind of swung the game back in the other player's favor. So yeah, we'll have to see how they adjust in game 2.
Yeah, I think the Spectre was kind of sad that he missed the Will-O-Wisp as well, and let's not forget that. So yeah, it was really weird RNG, but he did come back there with a really nice read, and by not protecting the Nihilego in an obvious fake out situation. So he definitely has what it takes, and yeah, let's see what happens in game 2.
Yeah, let's jump right into it. Yeah, hopefully Daniele can get some more luck this game on their side, and yeah, Warhyang trying to bounce back, trying to make some necessary adjustments to secure this 2-0 win. And get the Lunala Dream Eaters up to 4-1 on the season. So we are going to see the one of the more common leads in this format, the Rillaboom and Urshifu on Daniele's side, and the Incineroar and Tapu Koko on Warhyang's side.
Yeah, these leads are really interesting because obviously the Rillaboom matches up really nicely in the Tapu Koko, especially given that it's able to set up the grassy terrain after Tapu Koko's electric terrain. However, the Incineroar matches up really nice into the Rillaboom, and the Tapu Koko matches up really nice into the Urshifu, and the Urshifu matches up really nice into the Incineroar. So there's kind of too many patterns, so it's really tough to see a really perfect line here, I think. Especially given that there's a lot of fake out pressure going on as well. But we do see the Araconid back here, and as I already said, Rillaboom isn't that great against Araconid, and Urshifu isn't either, because Araconid is able to resist both stabs. So this may be a good time to just switch in the Araconid, take the damage like a champ, or like switch in the Porygon and go for a Trick Room the next turn, maybe even.
Yeah, we are going to see that Incineroar switch out for Warhyang into the Porygon too, so it's going to be able to soak up something like a Surging Strike that you mentioned. This Tapu Koko looks like it's going to go ahead and stay in, and it's going to take a Fake Out from this Rillaboom. Very interesting play there. Let's see if this Surging Strike's follow-up from the Urshifu is enough to take out the Tapu Koko, or if they select to go into the Porygon too. It is into the Tapu Koko, but this doesn't look like it's going to be very... it's not going to be anywhere close to a knockout. This Tapu Koko clearly having some bulk on it. But if this Urshifu is in fact... Scarf, like we assumed with their U-turn, it could go for something like a Surging Strikes into the Tapu Koko if you're worried about a Rillaboom Grassy Glide not cleaning up the job.
Yeah. And what's happening right now is that the Urshifu, let's just assume it's choiced, so the Araconid switch-in is really free here, and the as well as the Trick Room that Porygon is now able to set up, because like Urshifu can't switch to a fighting move, and a double up won't KO with the Trick Room. A taunt on Rillaboom is really unlikely, but I mean, maybe I will get surprised here. We do see the Incineroar going to be switched in here. Yeah, this will probably mean that the Trick Room is going to go up.
Yeah, Tapu Koko going to go ahead and switch out also. This is probably the Araquanid, as we do see here. Very exciting to see this interesting Pokemon selection here. We're going to see a knockoff from the Rillaboom, so getting rid of that Porygon 2's Eviolite, so it will take more damage throughout this match, and it does just set up the Trick Room. So Warhyang's in a pretty good position here. They got their Araquanid in, unintimidated, in front of an Incineroar and a Rillaboom. That Rillaboom is still intimidated, so should be able to do some good offensive pressure here.
Definitely, and the Araquanid actually going for a substitute, I think that's it. So it looks really free if it's not gonna get faked out. Does have to be careful about the parting shot that's going to that can go through the substitute here, but yeah, actually just gonna get faked out here.
Yeah, pretty good play there by Daniele. You're going to go ahead and throw a Fake Out so the Araquanid can't do too much damage. An Ice Beam is going to be thrown out into the what was a Rillaboom, now a Nihilego slot. It does a pretty good damage, so maybe that download boost that Porygon 2 got was the special attack, because Nihilego is pretty good special defense, so it shouldn't be taking too much from a non-stab Ice Beam. But now the Araquanid is pretty free to just throw a Water move into that Incineroar.
Yeah. I mean, look at we know the Daniele's 4 Pokemon now, and Araquanid basically wins to every one of those, so it just has to be careful not to get hit by a Nihilego Rock move attack, because that will probably be game over for Araquanid at least. So yeah, if Warhyang manages to the aggressive position well enough, then it looks really good for him.
Yeah, Daniele going to go ahead and switch out the Incineroar in place of the Rillaboom. And we do see the substitute from the Araquanid, like you mentioned. And this Porygon 2 is going to go ahead and throw an Ice Beam into the Rillaboom slot. What a great prediction there. Just going ahead and calling that Incineroar did not want to stay in and take a Water move. So I'm going to go ahead and throw an Ice move in to expect the Rillaboom switch in. This Nihilego is going to go ahead and power up this Meteor Beam again with its Power Herb, and let's see if it can actually connect this time. It looks like it's going to, and I'm assuming this is going to be into the Araquanid substitute. It is, so a bit of a wasted attack there, but you do get the +1 boost, and you still have Fake Out pressure.
Yeah, that's true. Cycling in the Rillaboom here. Obviously, Rillaboom took a lot of damage here. I'm not even sure if this Rillaboom is Assault Vested, or maybe the Porygon is just crazy damage output. Yeah. You do have to be careful now against this Nihilego Rillaboom situation because of the fake out pressure. But other than that, the Araquanid is still looking good. Trick Room is still up for a few turns, and yeah, I think it's still a tough position for Daniele to be in, because you could just double up the Nihilego this turn or next turn when the fake out pressure is over. So nothing can switch in, not the Incineroar, because that just gets KO'd, and not the Urshifu as well, because of the Thunderbolt pressure of Porygon. But let's just forget what I said, because we do see the Porygon being switched out here.
Yeah, and Incineroar going to come in and get that Intimidate on the Rillaboom. The Arachne is just going to get faked out, so let's see if this Nihilego takes advantage. It does, and it's just going to knock out this Arachnid with a Power Gem. So a huge momentum swing there for Daniele. Going to go ahead and get rid of that huge threat on Warhyang's side.
Oh wow, Warhyang doing the same thing as he did in game 1 by like hard reading a Nihilego, not even a Protect. He just read that the Rillaboom is probably not going for a fake out here. And but it did go for the obvious play, just fake out and rock type attack into the threat. And yeah, Warhyang kind of overread it here, or maybe had some other things in mind. And yeah, just as in the first game, now it suddenly looks tough for Warhyang again, because it's tough again for him to break the Nihilego.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like a Protect there on the Arachne was just a safe play, because you burn the fake out turn and you burn the Nihilego's power gem there, and you can probably just go for an attack that next turn pretty freely, assuming Trick Room is still up. So interesting thought process there. Maybe Trick Room was about to expire and we just didn't see it because they didn't show up the menu or something. But yeah, gonna go ahead and get that Incineroar back in with the Porygon 2. So at least you still have fake out pressure with some offense in Porygon 2. The Rillaboom's gonna switch out into that Incineroar for Daniele, and gonna go ahead and intimidate this Incineroar on Warhyang side in case he wants to go for something like a Darkest Lariat into the Nihilego to finish it off. We are going to see a Porygon 2 just go for a Ice Beam into the Nihilego slot, so good prediction there, just trying to double it up. And we are going to see the Darkest Lariat go into the Nihilego. Let's see if this Intimidate was enough to mitigate the damage enough for it to hang on. It actually hangs on pretty easily, and it's going to go for a Sludge Bomb actually into the Porygon 2. And wow, at +2, that does a big chunk to a Porygon 2.
Yeah, and he just forfeits. Yeah, I mean, this was pretty interesting. I think we shouldn't judge him too much about this play that he made. He was probably thinking, okay, Daniele is in a pretty rough spot, so he might probably read my Protect, which would be obvious, switch out the Rillaboom into the Incineroar to have to fake out in the next turn when I can't Protect.
Right.
And yeah, maybe he thought about something like this, but yeah, Daniele just went for the quote unquote obvious play, and it worked out perfectly. So. In game 3, he really has Warhyang really has to be able to keep the Nihilego in check, because he struggled for 2 games now to do this.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, like you mentioned, the obvious play there was the safest thing to do for Daniele to get out of that Trick Room spot, because you were in Trick Room facing down a boosted Porygon 2 and an Arachnid, which their team wasn't super equipped to handle. So definitely going for that safe play paid off for sure. But yeah, really interesting game there. Really impressed by Daniele to sort of like play out that Trick Room, get out of it with the fake out cycling, and keep putting on offensive pressure.
Yeah, and I think he will definitely carry this momentum in game 3 now, because game 1, like he got a bit unlucky. Game 2, he managed to be back on his foot. So yeah, now I think he will be really motivated to take the game 3 home, especially given that the Nihilego seems to wreak havoc 2 games in a row already.
Definitely, and we see a Nihilego plus Rillaboom lead on Daniele's side, so switching it up for a third time here, and Warhyang going back to their game 1 lead with the Landorus and Rillaboom.
Yeah, I think Daniele's Rillaboom was faster than Warhyang's. I think if it is chosen on the right, but I'm not perfectly sure about it. So he would have the fake out pressure. This is really important now, like who has the fake out pressure, because that really changes like if your other Pokemon can attack freely or not. On the other hand, Warhyang could just go for a Sword Stance again, because like if you get the Sword Stance for free up, then like maybe protect the Meteor Beam on your Landorus, then it would look pretty great. But obviously Daniele knows about the set of Rillaboom and maybe anticipates something like that. We will see.
Yeah, so the Rillaboom on Daniele's side going to go for a fake out into the Rillaboom. On Warhyang's side, going to get a critical hit in the process. This Nihilego looks like it's powering up a Meteor Beam. Let's see if it can go 2 for 3 on Meteor Beams for the day. Going to get that +1 special attack boost. And yeah, thanks to the power, I'm going to go ahead and charge up 1 turn early. It's going to go ahead and hit the Meteor Beam into the Landorus. Let's see if this is enough to KO. It is enough to KO. So that's a big momentum swing for Daniele. Just eliminating that Landorus turn 1. Thanks to the fake out from Rillaboom, and now sitting at +2 with Nihilego.
Yeah, wow, this went perfectly for him. Like he predicted that Warhyang is not going to go for a Protect, and he just KO'd it. He didn't even cover everything that Rillaboom does because he had the faster Rillaboom. So I think Rillaboom locked in the sword stance and couldn't even go for it. And now again, it looks really tough for WarhyangVGC because the Nihilego is already at +2 in turn 2. So yeah, it's gonna be pretty tough to do anything here.
Yeah, definitely. You are in a position if you're Warhang to go ahead and go for something like a fake out into the Nihilego and just click Swords Dance with Rillaboom, and regardless if an Incineroar switches in, you should be at +1. We are going to see that Rillaboom switch out here, and I'm guessing it's for the Incineroar. Yep, Incineroar is going to come in here for Daniele, going to go ahead and drop the attack of both the Incineroar and the Rillaboom. We'll have to see if that Incineroar decides to go for a fake out into the Nihilego. We actually see the Rillaboom switch out, which is very interesting. It's going to go into the Porygon 2. Okay, so pretty safe play there. You're going to go ahead and sponge up any damage that you can. And the Nihilego is just going to protect here. Doesn't want to get faked out by the Incineroar, maybe expecting something like a fake out plus Grassy Glide. We are just going to see a parting shot from Warhang's Incineroar into Daniele's. So pretty good prediction there. Just going to go ahead and cycle out that Incineroar back into Rillaboom. You're able to have your own fake out pressure again and maybe do something like a Trick Room or go for something like a Swords Dance.
Yeah, I think this was really interesting mind games going on here. It's basically just if Warhyang fakes out this turn, he can't fake out next turn, and then Incineroar switching in could now fake out. So it's all about the fake out pressure, and that's really interesting about this format because you have those cycling fake out options with Rillaboom and Incineroar, and it's sometimes it comes down to mind games like this that you have to just decide, okay, which Pokemon is protecting. Is he just cycling in his new fake outer? Should I do the same? Something like this going on, and Warhyang just read it perfectly here, and I think that's what keeps him in the game here.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like Warhang's only hope here is to get the Rillaboom boosted up and start taking KOs that way, because I don't see a clear way through this Incineroar, and they still have one Mon remaining in the back. So Rillaboom's going to go ahead and fake out the Nihilego. Incineroar going to go ahead and fake out the Rillaboom. Doesn't want it to set up something like a Swords Dance. But this Porygon 2 is just going to Ice Beam the Nihilego. So I believe it's not boosted based on the damage we saw in the last game. But yeah, pretty null turn there in overall.
Now it comes down whether the Nihilego is defensive and has some defense investment, because otherwise a Grassy Glide would be able to pick it up from here, because the Rillaboom is not intimidated right now. So yeah, now the Nihilego has to be kind of a little bit careful, but obviously it could just go for a protect. The Incineroar still threatening a KO on the Rillaboom, if not for the switch out that we see here. Yeah, this will be a really interesting turn.
Yeah, Porygon 2 going to switch out into the Incineroar, going to lower the attack of Daniele's Incineroar in case it wants to go for something like a Flare Blitz into the Rillaboom and take it out, so it should be able to live at that point. Nihilego's going for the Protect, and I believe we saw Rillaboom click the Swords Dance, so we'll have to see if this turn pays off. Here's the Swords Dance. This Rillaboom is now at +2 attack, so Warhang's in a decent position to try and sweep this game, and the Incineroar is just going to go for a U-turn into the Rillaboom, so not a lot of damage being done here, and this Rillaboom is sitting in a pretty good spot.
Wow, yeah, that's crazy. I think Warhyang got the last like 3 turns right to be able to like stay in the game, and now it's still not looking too great, but it's not looking that bad anymore because the Rillaboom is boosted up, and Incineroar can't really switch. Like it can switch in, but Rillaboom will still be at +1, and now you can just go for a fake out on the Nihilego and a Grassy Glide on the Nihilego, I think. And we'll just, even if the Incineroar switches in there, it will take a big chunk, and the opposing Rillaboom won't really do anything.
And the Rillaboom's going to go for a fake out into Warhang's, and the Incineroar is going to go for a fake out into Nihilego. So we're not going to see much damage done this turn, but yeah, now this turn is very interesting because you have some mind games. You have to think if the Incineroar is going to switch in on Daniele's end, and if you want to go ahead and predict that, and maybe predict something like the Nihilego Protect again for, what is this, the 4th time in a row now, and maybe click that Swords Dance button again. So we'll have to see how bold Warhyang's feeling this turn.
A big problem now is though that the Grassy Terrain just ran out, and obviously now Nihilego is not threatened by Grassy Glide anymore, and can probably just go for a Power Gem onto the Incineroar or a Sludge Bomb on the Rillaboom. Just pick something to KO because none of these Pokemon carry a Protect, and yeah, now all of a sudden it looks pretty rough.
Yeah, Warhang recognizing that, going to go ahead and switch out the Rillaboom, save it for later. The Rillaboom's going to go for a U-turn into the Incineroar, so yeah, the Grassy Terrain will be set up again at some point. The Porygon 2 is able to sponge the damage from that +2 Sludge Bomb, though, so, not a terrible turn for Warhang. They did lose some Fake-Out pressure. I'm assuming they're going to go for something like a Parting Shot into the Nihilego, but yeah, pretty interesting turn overall.
Yeah, the interesting thing is that Warhyang always has the slower pivot, so he gets in his unintimidated Pokemon last, basically. And that helps him keeping up the offensive pressure, so that Daniele can't really attack with his Nihilego what he wants. It's really interesting that Daniele decided against KOing the Incineroar here, instead going on to the offensive and killing the Porygon. Makes me wonder if there's maybe no Urshifu in the back, because the Porygon might be a big threat. And because I thought the switch in there was fairly obvious, I guess. But yeah, we'll see how it turns out. I think Nihilego is still at +1, so it still looks really good for him. But he has the faster fake out again this turn, and the Grassy Terrain is back up, so.
Yeah, this is an interesting turn. I feel like you don't want Trick Room if you're Warhang in this position. I feel like you might go for something like just a Fake Out and just get some chip damage off with Ice Beam or something like that. Definitely interesting to see what they decide to do here.
Yeah. Because even if you have the Trick Room, then the opposing Incineroar underspeeds your Rillaboom, which is just kind of weird. But
Yeah.
Trick Room would help you against this Nihilego, of course, because you don't have to rely on your Grassy Glide and can just click Flare Blitz into it. Because Nihilego does take a lot of damage from physical attacks because of that very low defense stat.
Definitely. The Rillaboom is going to switch out here for the Incineroar. It's going to take a Sludge Bomb from this Nihilego, so correctly predicting that, but still taking a lot of damage thanks to that +1 boost on the Nihilego. Incineroar is going to heal up with a Citrus Berry this turn, and we're going to see a Flare Blitz go into the Incineroar. So really good prediction there from Warhyang, just trying to keep their Rillaboom preserved for the late game. And the Porygon 2 is actually going to go for a Trick Room. Okay, so Warhyang has decided that Trick Room is really important in this game. Maybe they're looking to do some good damage with Incineroar, with something like a Darkest Lariat into the Nihilego, or maybe just start chipping stuff down with Porygon 2.
Yeah, I think Daniele really gets good trades. Like he gets a lot of damage while Warhyang just needs to survive, basically. But on the other hand, Warhyang is like hanging by a thread, but it's still in the game, So it's a really exciting, not even end game, mid game here, I guess, because the Nihilego sits at +1 and +2 for what 8 or 10 turns. I don't even know how many turns it was. It's still not able to like win the game here. So we will see. If it's now if it will survive this turn, it probably will.
So we see the Porygon 2 go for an Ice Beam in the Nihilego, and it actually catches a freeze. And this Incineroar is going to follow up with a Darkest Lariat. This is unintimidated. Let's see how much it does.
No.
Takes it down to about 25%, and this Nihilego is still frozen. So, wow, all of the momentum on Daniele's side from an offensive perspective has been halted thanks to that Ice Beam from Porygon 2.
Yeah, that's so big. Definitely a really clutch freeze here. I, for my part, would have probably clicked Flare Blitz into Nihilego because I think it does more damage. So I was worried that he just fought it off immediately. But Warhyang just got the freeze here. Now it looks nice. It's still far from over this game, but yeah, he found a way, I would say. What do you say about the freeze? Holy.
Yeah, the Porygon 2 is going to go ahead and recover up there, so it's just, being annoying as it always does. And the Incineroar is going to go for a U-turn into the Porygon 2. I was half wondering if Daniele would make the bold play and side Flare Blitz their own Nihilego. I thought that would have been absolutely hilarious, especially at -1, but just opting to pivot out into the Urshifu. We are going to see the Darkest Lariat follow up into the Nihilego. This should be enough to pick up the KO, and it is. So that major offensive threat for Daniele is off the field finally, after sitting there for about 10 to 12 turns, just boosted up, and yeah, thanks to that freeze and targeting down with the Darkest Lariat, it is gone now.
Yeah, I mean, this is crazy, honestly. I mean, of course you could say that it's really lucky, and I mean it was. But what's really impressive, I feel like, is that he managed to survive so long. He got the Trick Room up, even though the Nihiligo sat there and was like +2 and +1 for so long, and he still managed by hard reading his opponent and by clever fake out shuffling to keep that Pokemon not in check, but like inability to do anything. And yeah, I think he used like 2 or 3 Ice Beams into it, so a Freeze Dare is not 90%, not 10%, but a little bit more than that. So it's just impressive to see that he's still in the game, that he's still like managed to survive that long. You know, I think that's what I take from that game.
Yeah, definitely. This Porygon 2 gonna go ahead and switch out into the Rillaboom. So this offensive Rillaboom is gonna go ahead and take its place on the field. Rillaboom's gonna throw a fake out into the Incineroar, and let's see if it gets followed up by something like a Surging Strikes. It actually gets followed up by a close combat. So very interesting decision there by Daniele, maybe deciding to lock into a close combat with the item Choice Scarf or Choice Band or something like that. So we'll have to see here. I believe Daniele still has that Incineroar in the back, so this Rillaboom might be able to just go ahead and click Swords Dance, but we do see the grassy terrain actually expire there, so that might be a problem for Warhyang, considering they don't have switch-ins here.
Yeah, the game is still very open, still very exciting. The Urshifu sits at -1, so even if the Porygon does not get a attack boost here, I sadly can't read it, so I don't really know what boost which boost it got. It would still be enough to pick up the Urshifu, and we know for a fact that it's not Sash. So he probably has to switch out the Urshifu here, try to stall out the remaining turns of the Trick Room, and run with the Urshifu later on.
Yeah, we'll have to see if he goes for a Swords Dance, predicting something like an Incineroar switch into that slot. And if you get your Rillaboom up at +2, you might be able to sort of clean up this game. You have that fighting move for Urshifu, and if you reposition in a way, Daniele, you might have to bring in your Rillaboom and give that Rillaboom on Warhyang's side the grassy terrain. So very interesting. We'll have to see how it plays out here. Daniele's going to go ahead and switch that Urshifu out for the Incineroar. So I believe Warhyang clicked Swords Dance, so this will be very interesting to see how this plays out. Incineroar going to drop that Rillaboom to -1, as well as the Porygon 2, which is a bit not important there. And the Porygon 2 is just going to throw an Ice Beam out into the Rillaboom. So actually predicting the Urshifu to switch out, and it one-hit KOs the Rillaboom. So yeah, that Rillaboom definitely not Assault Vest, and that Porygon 2 was boosted clearly, and the Rillaboom gonna go ahead and Swords Dance, and now it's at +1 attack.
Yeah, and what do you say about this turn? Because I think there's still one more remaining turn of Trick Room left, and the Urshifu is not Sash, so it's either getting KO'd by a Grassy Glide or it's getting KO'd by a Thunderbolt here, don't you think?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, actually, there's no Trick Room. Okay, never mind. There's no Trick Room, so the turn is more tricky than I thought.
Yeah, so maybe if you're Warhyang, you have to just double up the Urshifu and hit it with one move, because I think the Urshifu has to lock into close combat here, because if you lock into Surging Strikes, you're not going to be able to beat this Rillaboom. So I think doubling into the Urshifu with something like a Grassy Glide or a Thunderbolt should just take a KO this turn.
And the interesting thing is, though, he didn't reveal his fighting move, right? On the Rillaboom. So if the fake out goes on the other Pokemon, then it will probably be enough. But yeah, it doesn't.
Yeah, fake out plus close combat into the Rillaboom here. We'll have to see if Warhyang decided to double up with a Thunderbolt. That should clearly get the KO based on the damage that the Ice Beam did to Rillaboom. It is going to follow up with a Thunderbolt into Urshifu, and I think at this point, boosted Porygon 2 always beats Incineroar, so it looks like this should just be a win for Warhyang.
Yeah, I think this was a really crazy game. We did see a freeze going on, but we did see a lot of skill going on here. Really crazy stuff. I mean, the Rillaboom just clicked Sword Sense like 3 times, still switched out again and again, shuffling the Intimidate. Yeah, really interesting stuff. We do see that the Incineroar is probably Assault Vest here, going for Snarl. It went for U-turn before, but even if the Porygon is not able to KO the Incineroar in time, it will still be able to always win on timer, because it has access to the recovery move, which Incineroar doesn't. So yeah, I think this is just a wrap up for Warhyang, and a really crazy game to cast.
Yeah, I mean, just a roller coaster of a game. Warhyang definitely like seemed they were on the back foot on that turn one, losing their Landris, doing absolutely nothing with it, and then all of a sudden, 10 turns later, they have dealt with the Nihilego and put themselves in a position where they can clean up the rest of the game here with this Porygon 2 and Rillaboom. So, I mean, just magnificently played on their end.
Yeah, they basically played a 3-4 because they got the turn one wrong. And I mean, they survived a +2 power gem, if I remember correctly, so they probably thought they could survive a +1 meteor beam. But
Right.
yeah, as we saw, this was not the case, so yeah, just tough.
Yeah, and I mean, we did see the freeze, like you mentioned, and that was a huge momentum shifter for Warhang. But the turns that they had to do to get to that turn were just like absolutely pinpoint perfection, because you had to call like what 7-8 turns in a row to not like just get destroyed by Nihilego, and they
Yeah,
were
he
able to
definitely
maneuver
caught a
in
lot
such a way.
of protects.
Yeah, definitely, and they were able to maneuver in such a way that they could just kind of sort of spam Ice Beam a few turns and not get anything KO'd, and then soon enough you're going to get a freeze on that Nihilego, and that's what was able to allow them to win the game.
Yeah, and I think Daniele played it really well as well. Let's not forget that. I think he tried to play it really safe in the end by always going for a Sludge Bomb into Rillaboom instead of predicting an kind of obvious switch and stuff like that.
Yep.
So I think that was really really well played, really safe played. Of course, he did get unlucky there, and that's what you sometimes have to think about. If you would take a smaller risk, even if you are ahead, to just take down the game faster, because of like bad RNG can always come into your game plan and mess with you.
Yeah, definitely, and yeah, we're just gonna see this this inevitable end game play itself out here. This Incineroar is just gonna keep spamming Snarls, and this Porygon 2 will eventually get the KOs with Thunderbolt. This Incineroar does not have the damage output to beat this Porygon 2, but yeah, just a pretty crazy game. It went to a game 3. We saw the Araquanid like surprisingly not come and put in as much work as expected. It was definitely interesting. I think, like you mentioned in team preview at the very beginning, that the Araquanid was putting on a lot of pressure, and we saw it only come to game 2 and sort of get dealt with pretty handedly. And luckily for Warhyang, it was they had already won the game in game 1, so they were able to take that risk in game 2.
Yeah, I don't know. It was just a crazy set, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Both of these players played extremely well throughout all of the 3 games. There was a lot of mind games going on, and it seemed like Daniele had the upper hand, but he did go for those safe plays over and over again, which in the end led to some bad RNG and Warhyang taking advantage of it.
Yep, you got to play well to give yourself that RNG, and this win does give the Lunala Dream Eaters the win for the week, and they actually win the week 6-2, so a very commanding win over the Tokyo Thunders, and that's going to put them at 4-1-0, so only 4 wins, only a tie, and no losses, while the Tokyo Thunders will drop to 3-2. So a very impressive run by the Lunala Dream Eaters so far. They're the number 1 seed heading into week 6 or week 5, and should be interesting to see if they're able to continue their run in the regular season. And I'm sure at this point they're almost guaranteed for playoffs. So interesting.
Yeah, I think like having those games featured from this team, and like we did feature other players on the team as well, and they all played so well. So it's no wonder that they are up there.
Yeah. Well, congratulations again to Warhyang, and well played by Daniele. But we got one more Spike Muth Cup game coming up after this, so that's it for us, and stick around, guys.
Stay tuned.